Welcome back to the KDPG Sunday Edition. I'm Ken Rice. Here in Pittsburgh, we know the pain of anti-Semitic violence too well. The shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue was the deadliest attack ever on Jews in America. And of course, Pittsburgh is not alone. In the last 5 years, there's been a 150% increase in anti-Semitic incidents across the country. And in just a 3-year span, a 46% rise in those incidents in K through 12 schools. Those numbers come from the Anti-Defamation League, which is not just tracking hate crimes, it's also working on ways to prevent them. And that includes a program in our schools called No Place for Hate, which recently got a big grant to expand in the Pittsburgh area. Sarah Schinbach is Senior Associate Regional Director for the ADL. Her region covers Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Western Pennsylvania. We're delighted to welcome you to the KDPG Sunday Edition.
Thank you.
So how does No Place for Hate differ from typical anti-bullying programs that might be in many schools?
No Place for Hate differs in a few key ways. One of them is that the program is largely student-led. So first I'll explain a bit about the goals of the program and then get into how it works.
Yeah.
So No Place for Hate, as I mentioned, it's a largely student-driven program with a goal of creating and maintaining a culture of inclusivity in our schools. So that means creating and maintaining a culture where every single student feels valued and respected, regardless of that student's race, gender identity, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, etc.
It should be the norm. It seems silly that we need a program to enforce that, right? But I guess that's just reality.
It's the reality.
Okay, so when you say a student-led program, give me some examples of what students have done under this program.
Yeah, so I can give you two examples that stand out in my mind. One of them is with an elementary school. Students learned all about different cultures through those cultures' peace symbols. And so after learning about all of the cultures, each student in the school received a paper cutout of a dove, and then on those doves, they all wrote their ideas for fighting hate. And those doves were hung all over the school, so they were a constant reminder for everybody in the school to see.
Okay, so it sounds like this is an effort to get to kids. What age kids were doing this?
Yeah, that was elementary school.
Okay, so is the idea to get to kids before the internet gets to them? Because at a certain age, you know, children are exposed to what's online, which we know can be vile and evil. So is it trying to inoculate them against what they're inevitably going to be exposed to at some point?
Yeah, well, you've just touched on a key point, which is that hate and bias are learned and hate and bias can be unlearned. And so that's a core belief at the ADL, which is one of the reasons that we get to our children so they can recognize their own biases and what they're being exposed to, and then they can confront those.
That's interesting. So is the program simply about anti-Semitism, or does it address other types of bias, racial, ethnic, or otherwise?
The program addresses all types of bias. So each program, one of the requirements for completing the program and being designated as a No Place for Hate is a school must complete a minimum of 3 programs throughout the school year that engage the entire student body, and an element of those programs has to be participatory. So an assembly won't work, for example. The students really need to engage in discussion and reflection and participate in their own learning.
So what's new is the expansion. You've got a grant and you're now going to, I guess, perhaps double the number of schools in the Pittsburgh area that have the program. It's about 24 now. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so because the program has existed for a while in schools, how can you measure results?
So we measure results in 2 ways, both anecdotally and through data. Anecdotally, we are constantly speaking with the administrators at the school who are running the programs. There's a constant feedback loop, and we hear administrators saying to us, wow, this program completely changed the culture in our school. Students now are not bullying. Students are aware of the way they come across to other students. So that anecdotal evidence is really helpful. Also, our success rate is tremendous. We have a number of schools who have been in the program for over 5 years. We have situations where one school in a district will do this program, and it's so successful that the entire district adopts the program in the following year.
We're just looking at some video from when the grant, which is allowing your expansion, was announced. That's what we're looking at the moment. Okay, so anecdotally, the feedback is good. Any negative feedback? Are there any districts that have adopted this where some parents might have said, you know what, I don't really need my child learning this. I'll handle that at home?
To my knowledge, that has not happened. We've received very positive feedback.
Okay, and is there something about anti-Semitism in particular that makes it harder to fight than other types of prejudice or bias?
All types of prejudice and bias are very important to fight. And I think something to remember is that hate, it doesn't stop with words. No city knows that more than Pittsburgh, and the terrible tragedy that happened here at the Tree of Life Synagogue. And as you mentioned before, we've seen that elsewhere in the country, from Poway to Muncie, which is why the ADL believes it's so important to start this education with our children.
So before Tree of Life, did this region have a certain reputation for inclusivity or lack thereof?
I mean, this region in general, I mean, Mr. Rogers, I think, is really emblematic of Pittsburgh and how everybody thinks of this city.
Okay, and so Tree of Life didn't change that, or did it? Is this region viewed differently now because of that?
I think people are just more aware of anti-Semitism in general and the threat that it poses in this country. The entire country was shocked and horrified when the Tree of Life shooting happened, and we just pray and hope and work so something like that never happens again.
Something we heard when the announcement of the expansion was made is that this program may be even more important on the outskirts of Allegheny County and into surrounding counties where there is less diversity to begin with. So how do you implement the program in a school where there may not be any minorities? Or on to contrast, where it's all minorities, to take the reverse, if there's no diversity, in other words?
So our education director, before a school signs up for this program, our education director and our education staff have a very detailed conversation with the administrator at the school to identify the school's demographics, their specific needs. One of the great things about No Place for Hate is because it's largely student-led, each school can tailor the activities to their individual needs, which are not going to look the same at any two schools.
Okay, so do schools don't pay for this?
So without going into too much detail about the cost, the ADL speaks to all of the schools, and we are committed to providing this program and sharing our resources, whatever the school's needs are. So we find a way to make that work.
Okay, so if a school district, school administrator is listening to you this morning and thinking, boy, this is something I might want to have in my district, how can they get it going?
Yeah, absolutely. Please reach out to our office. If you go to adl.org/Cleveland, that's our office that covers this area, you can find contact information for our office. Reach out, and we would love to speak to every single school in the area.
Just before we wrap up, you heard all the statistics that come from your organization about the rise in particularly anti-Semitic incidents, even in schools in K through 12, a dramatic increase. When you go to work every day, are you just bummed out by what seems to be a pretty ugly trend, or if you're not, what makes you optimistic?
I do remain optimistic. The trends that we see are certainly troubling. However, there's always good in the world, and there are a lot of positive trends as well. One positive that's come out of these times is that people are more aware of their own biases and of what's happening in the world. And we've seen Pittsburgh's a great example of people rallying together to fight hate.
No question. The response to what happened at Tree of Life was truly beautiful. Sarah Schimbuck, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in just a moment.